Hello, I'm going to work through quiz 12.1. I hope all is going well. And so let's start with the first one, standard form. And I'm going to get the y-intercept by plugging x in, or 0 in for x. When you do that, the negative 3x squared, the quadratic term, becomes 0. The 6x, the linear term, becomes 0. And all that's left is the constant term, which is 24. And so my y-intercept is 0, 24. Factored form, I'm going to factor out a negative 3, which is the greatest common factor of all three terms. And then I'm going to try to factor further. I'm looking for two terms that multiply to negative 8x squared and add to negative 2x. How about negative 4x and positive 2x? So now continue to factor. And now it's completely factored. We can find the x-intercepts through factored form pretty easily. Set y equal to 0. And then you take, we have three factors here, negative 3, x minus 4, and x plus 2. Just take the factors that have a variable. So x minus 4, set that equal to 0. And x plus 2, set that equal to 0. You don't want to take the negative 3 and set that equal to 0. That's not going to make any sense or give you anything good. So in each of these equations we get x is 4 and negative 2. And so my two x-intercepts are 4, 0 and negative 2, 0. If you have your two x-intercepts, you can find the middle, the axis of symmetry, by averaging those two values. So my axis of symmetry is going to be, if I take 4 plus a negative 2 divided by 2, that's how you average, I'm going to end up with 1. So x equals 1 is the axis of symmetry, or the middle. The vertex will have the same x value as your axis of symmetry. And I'm going to go a bit further here. I'm going to plug a 1. Well, let's go back to standard form. I'll plug a 1 in for x. And I get y is negative 3 times 1 squared plus 6 times 1 plus 24, which is negative 3 plus 6 plus 24, which is negative 3 plus 30, or 27. So when you plug a 1 in, you get y is 27, so that's my vertex, 27. So h is 1, k is 27, and a is negative 3, and we see that, I'll circle that in standard form. So put the a, h, and k together to get your vertex form. Y equals negative 3 times x minus 1 squared plus 27. We have quite a few points here. Let's go ahead and graph what we have. Okay, so the center, or the axis of symmetry, is at x equals 1. I have a vertex on that axis of symmetry at 1, 27. The y-intercept is at 0, 24. And that's one value to the left of the center. So if I go one value to the right of the center, I'm at the same height. So that would be at 2, 24. I have an x-intercept at negative 2, 0, and one at positive 4, 0. And that gives us 5 points to get a good sketch of our parabola. The domain of this parabola is all real numbers. Domain is what x values you can plug into the function, or if you're looking at a graph, how far left, how far right will this graph go. All real numbers means from negative infinity to positive infinity. And domain's only about the x values. Range is talking about how high, how low, or what y values or output will we get. And we notice our vertex is a maximum. It's the highest it can go. So all y values lower than or equal to that 27 as a maximum. The graph is increasing on the left half of the graph, so when x is less than 1, and it's decreasing when on the right half of the graph when x is greater than 1. When y is 0, those are my x-intercepts, so negative 2 and 4. When x is 0, that's my y-intercept, my y-intercept at 24, and 2 match that. And my vertex is at 127. So that's what we want for number 1. Hopefully you got all those right. For the second one, we start with vertex form this time, so we can quickly get our vertex just by looking at what's given. It's going to be negative 2, negative 8. We take the opposite value with the x. You have x plus 2, this 2 right here. I take the opposite of that to get negative 2 for my x value for the vertex. And the line of symmetry is a line, so an equation x equals, and you take the same x value from your vertex. I'm going to find standard form now by multiplying out vertex form. So vertex form is y is 2 times x plus 2 squared minus 8. X plus 2 squared means x plus 2 times x plus 2. I'm going to multiply, I'll distribute the 2 to the first x plus 2. And then I'll distribute 2x times x, 2x times 2, 4 times x, 4 times 2. We're going to end up with y is 2x squared plus 8x. So in this case, if I plug in 0 for x, I'm going to get 0 for y. So 0, 0 is my y-intercept. This is going to be easier to factor. All we need to do is factor out the greatest common factor, which is 2x. And we're left with x plus 4. So we got 2x times x plus 4. And to find, that's our factored form. To find our roots, which are the same way you find your x-intercepts or your zeros, you set 0 equal to y. And then you take your factors that have a variable and set those equal to 0. And we end up with x is 0 and x is negative 4. So 0, 0, which we already knew was a point, right? It's your x-intercept and your y-intercept. It's the only point that can be both. And the other one is going to be negative 4, 0. Alright, let's put this together in a graph. The center of my graph is at x equals -2. I have a x-intercept at 0, 0 and 0, -4. I have a vertex at -2, -8. And I'm going to put those points in. So we got -2, -8 as the vertex. We have 0, 0, and we have -4, 0. And I've asked you to find the values, like what happens if you plug a -1 in for x. And I'll use factored. Well, no, I'll just use standard form here. So y is 2 times -1 squared plus 8 times -1, which is going to give us -6. So I'm going to plot that. -1, -6, about right here. And there's going to be its matching point on the other side of the middle, which is at -3, -1, or -6. And connect points with a smooth upward facing curve. Domain's all real numbers. Range is all y values bigger than or equal to -8. It's increasing on the right half, so when x is greater than -2, decreasing on the left half when x is less than -2.